Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Committed Critics, a pop culture podcast where we're not only committed to our opinions, but also each other. Aww. I'm Kevin Lau.
And I'm Zachary Wright. And Kevin, we lost Ryan again.
No! He's just so busy. What a guy.
He is very busy. But today we have a special guest star. Who are you?
I'm Tyler Bourland. Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm from the Southern Illinois region. So you go south of Chicago and you find some cornfields, and that's where I'm at.
Whoa. It's like every Chicago. Oh my God.
That's how
I know
every
so many Chicago natives. Like, there was one time I was in Chicago with some friends, and then we drove out west, actually. So we leave the city, they see the cornfields, and we're just directly west of Chicago, and they're like, oh, is this Southern Illinois? Chicago natives.
Hey,
you forgot the Cheyenne National Forest. You do have a forest down there, Tyler.
Yeah, we do, and lots of good hiking trails. I need to get I'll bring a pamphlet on next time, and I'll just read out of it.
I love it.
But yeah, I'm currently working towards a master's degree to teach English. I also co-host a weekly podcast called Why Is with Ty and Dan on multiple podcasting platforms and audio only on YouTube.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, you've been on the show before for our Falcon and Winter Soldier review. So now we're reviewing more MCU stuff. This is actually part 1 of a 2-parter. Today we're going to be reviewing Black Widow. Bum, bum, bum. The return to the MCU in theaters. Is it great? Is it wonderful? We will dive in and find out.
I'm going to be honest.
So first,
the experience in the theater was pretty wonderful. I'm not going to lie to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was nice to hear that fanfare, the Marvel fanfare in the theaters.
In the Heights was a better theater experience for me.
Hey,
Sorry.
Kevin, do me a favor. Piss off.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna log off now. Bye.
I tease.
But before we really dive into Black Widow, we're gonna give our quick spoiler-free thoughts on Black Widow, how we watched it, and rating it. So Zach, did you want to go ahead and go first?
Yeah, I'm pretty neutral, more on like the lax side of the Black Widow consensus, I believe. Black Widow was a good choice to be the first MCU back in the theaters. It might sound bad. It kind of like sets the bar for future MCU properties where Black Widow was
setting the bar low.
Well, it kind of setting the bar like at a low par bogey standard with those golf terms. Like it wasn't like bad by any stretch of imagination. It was fine. It's passable. It's a C/B Marvel movie. I enjoyed my time with it. It was super exciting to go out and experience it. Like, it was not pre-COVID times, but even though that's what will never happen ever again. But yeah, it was good. 3 out of 5 in my opinion. All
right. So before I dive in, Tyler, did you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I agree with Zach. It's 3 out of 5 for me. It was very much mid-tier Marvel for me, but it was entertaining nonetheless. Still worth the theater ticket and the time. I will say it put a smile on my face hearing the Marvel fanfare in theaters once again. I felt like a little kid.
See, Tyler gets it, Kevin. Tyler gets it.
I like the Marvel fanfare. I liked it. I liked the first 20 minutes.
I will say that Marvel could have risked more with these new characters, but the film is still entertaining and it helps better build the world. I just wish we'd been able to get this exact movie post Civil War.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I agree with that last sentiment. But so my thoughts are, even though I'm going to keep knocking the movie, I am very neutral about it. It is a very neutral movie. You just watch it, you pass the time. It wasn't a waste of time, but it's not worth clamoring to get to the movie theater to watch it. So I give it a 2.5 out of 5. Black Widow, it just feels like a movie where the setup and various prompts throughout the story were written by someone with interesting ideas, but then the rest of the screenplay was completed by an AI that has only seen 4 movies, those being Winter Soldier, Civil War, Mission Impossible Fallout, and The Incredibles. It's just like it starts off real interesting.
Such an eclectic array of movies.
I know. It's like because everything past the 20-minute mark is just like lesser versions of what these four movies have to offer.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
Yeah.
really strange.
I will say,
yeah.
I think the one reason I'm so like good / neutral on it is that it's the first MCU film back in the theaters. If this was like the third or fourth, I don't know where it would stand in my opinion. Just to be honest, I think the sheer fact that it's the first one in theaters for such a long time, I think that's why I'm still so high on it. Like I would go see this a second time in my opinion. Like if like I had to go see it with, like, because usually I see like Marvel movies with like my mom and like my friends, so like I would probably see it a second time.
I wish it was something weird like the Eternals or something better like Shang-Chi instead. But that's just me.
No, yeah, totally, yeah, totally fair. That's totally fair criticism, Kevin. I agree. Yeah.
So now we're gonna dive into spoilers. So if you haven't seen Black Widow, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus for $30 on top of your subscription fee, or you can just watch it at the theater for like a $7 Tuesday or something, depending on what your theater has. So diving into spoilers, what is one thing you liked about Black Widow? Tyler, did you want to start us off?
Sure. So the opening montage, it's still something that it sits with me. It's still fresh on my mind, and I saw this 2 weeks? No,
it's all over TikTok still. Like that cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit is all over TikTok.
Mm-hmm. And it's haunting, it's vivid, it's chilling. Like, yeah. I wasn't expecting that, but it's very, very much a Kate Shortland moment. Mm-hmm. And I see now why Feige approved ScarJo's request for Shortland to direct. This brings me to what I like best about this film, and that's the direction. Okay. Shortland handles complicated characters very well, and I think we see that in her handling of Natasha Romanoff in this film, who is a complicated character, not by design, but rather by coincidence.
Yeah,
right.
I think I agree with that, Tyler. Like, based off what you said right there about Natasha, right? Ever since she was introduced, she was really just kind of like there by coincidence. She's complicated by coincidence. And that kind of still rings true into this film. Whereas in comparison to like Yelena, or is that right? I'm pronouncing that correctly? Yelena?
Yelena,
yeah. Like in Florence Pugh, I think she is designed to be a complicated character. Whereas kind of like Natasha is just kind of there in her own film, which is kind of strange. But piggybacking off Tyler, I agree. The opening montage was amazing. I loved it. I was sitting there in awe, and it was the opening credits, which is a whole new thing. Like, I don't think I've seen opening credits in Marvel film in forever. I mean,
since Guardians 2, I think was probably the last one. I could be very wrong though.
I think you're right, but
I think so.
But yeah, I was kind of surprised Disney would have that opening montage of like trafficking of children. That was very like,
that was like,
very
whoa,
ballsy.
we took a turn.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. I'm like, okay, cool.
I was like, all right, let's go. Let's get this movie going. Like, I like this tone, and then after that, it just becomes a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Florence Pugh is a goddamn treasure. God, I love her. Like, she did a great job. Every joke she had all the best lines. Her dialogue was great. I think the one thing, like the joke she had about women's reproductive organs, like I don't have a uterus, asshole, or whatever she says to David Harbour. I guess that wasn't written in. Like, she thought of it along with the director Kate Shortland, and they added it in.
They snuck it past Feige.
Well, no, it was actually like the writer. The writer of this film was a man, and he put in the period joke, and he's like, and they're like, guys, they don't have uteruses, and they're like,
there's 3 writers.
What?
There's 3 writers.
One of them put him in there. One of them put it in there, and like they're like, guys, this period joke makes no sense for Black Widow because they don't have a uterus. Right. And so so they had to basically recover it and made it a lot better than what it was.
Nice.
The end credit scene is predictable, and I kind of hope that Florence Pugh is it's kind of like a villain or an antagonist in the new Hawkeye series. Because I'll be honest, I really don't care about Jeremy Renner. I'm just here for Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop.
We stand.
Exactly. Bumblebee forever.
I really enjoyed the cast of this movie. Like, the cast is the strongest aspect of it. Outside the first 20 minutes, there's like, Scarlett Johansson is a great actress, even though she's very problematic. Like she's still,
Yes.
she's very like she still like gives great performances.
I want to circle back to Scarlett Johansson in a second, but continue, Kevin.
Gotcha. Was it the part where she played a tree in this movie?
No.
Florence Pugh, always great. She's really great in Little Women, and I've seen her in a couple other movies. I haven't seen Midsummer yet, but
she's good in
always
Midsummer. I wasn't a big fan of Midsummer, but she was probably the best part of it.
Nice. David Harbour, always great. Rachel Weisz, always great. So it's the cast just really. Even though the script had a lot of weak moments, the cast really kind of held it together. It kept that emotional continuity throughout.
For sure, yeah.
And then just kind of it made it worth watching. I'm not going to blame. So the direction, when it comes to direction, I think Kate Shortland's it's real Kate Shortland for the first 20 minutes up until the end of the opening credits. After the opening credits, it feels like just generic Marvel movie stuff. So it is. So when it starts feeling like generic Marvel movie stuff, it's the cast that holds it together. Even when the script is falling apart and makes no sense at some points, it is still the cast holding it together. And so I think really big applause for them.
I do think Shortland shines through in some of those unique moments, like in the latter half, like
and then in all the parts that doesn't feel like a Marvel movie.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the one part that strikes me was kind of like jarring was at the end when when Dreykov is punching her and she's just taking it. I'm kind of like, this is weird. Like I feel uncomfortable during this part. I feel like that was her decision. I was supposed to be uncomfortable, but I don't know, just kind of off-putting that like the main character is just letting herself get beaten up. I understand what it was for, but I'm like, man, I was at odds myself with it. It was so weird.
Yeah, it's like it's like after the first 20 minutes, it is like, there's a point every now and then where it feels a little different from a Marvel movie.
Right.
And that's where I feel like Kate Shortland was able to have her own space for that. Then outside of that, it just felt like it was just kind of filled in by like almost it feels like an AI. Like I would not be surprised if Marvel came out revealed later on. It's like Black Widow was the first movie they tested an AI screenwriting software for. Because it just feels like because a lot of these scenes, like, they start interesting, then like the result, and it makes a weird transition to the end, and like the conclusion of the scene that like has no lineup to what happened before it, and like the dialogue doesn't really like line up very well. And I'm just like, it feels like it's written by a robot. Like, what's going on?
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, it's something that Marvel's got a formula that they rely on, and I would say a little too much. And I'm hoping that we do get away from that. And I'll talk a little more about that later on. But yeah, I think there's a ton that they can do. They can still branch out. But
I love the pun. Yeah. There's a
call back
lot
to Scarlett Johansson playing a tree joke. Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's the branch.
There's a lot that they can branch out to do. But I think we're gonna need the people that are on right now have pioneered it to the point that it's at. But I think that we need some new blood in there. Like pushing it even further.
Yeah. I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about one thing we didn't like and some of our final thoughts on Black Widow. See you in a bit. Starting a podcast? Try a Podbean Unlimited hosting plan. It's what we use here at Committed Critics, giving us the opportunity to have our show on Pandora, iHeartRadio, and even Spotify. You can get your first month of unlimited hosting for free on us by going to podbean.com/committedcrits, just like our Twitter, or by clicking the link in the description. Podbean, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting.
Don't you wish there was a pop culture review site that appealed to cinephiles, both professional and casual? Well, look no further than crpwrites.com. New content such as movie and TV reviews, film essays, and more are released every week by writers who crave for movies like every moviegoer craves for popcorn. CRP Writes is dedicated to making sure no one is wasting time or money where they shouldn't be. After all, you have to be able to buy your popcorn and eat it too. CRPWrites.com. Casual reviews with purpose since 2018.
And welcome back to Committed Critics as we continue our talk about Black Widow and one thing we didn't like about it. I'll just say my piece real quick. I've said it earlier before. Just gonna set it in stone right now. Everything after the opening credits of this movie, did not care for. It was kind of like, oh, time to turn off my brain and then just watch the rest of the movie.
Kevin, you sound like that Family Guy sound where it's Peter Griffin going like, I did not care for The Godfather. I'm sorry, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean, I was passing it off to you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree. After the midpoint, the family dynamic stuff gets a little muddy because the cast holds it together, like you said, Kevin, by the emotional, the emotional connection what they all seem to have. But on paper, their relationship is kind of muddy.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, because David Harbour, after they land when they're kids, it kind of just gives them off. Like, okay, here you go, bye. When they finally meet him again, after they save him from the prison, he's like, oh, I love you guys so much. So I don't know if he really felt like he was his father, he was their father.
I want to ask you guys, maybe I missed this when I watched it, but it felt very strange to me when they suddenly went to the prison. It's like, we don't know where the hideout is. And then suddenly we're in the prison. I'm just like, why are we here?
Because they thought Red Guardian knew where the prison was because he was close to Dreykov.
Did they say that right before?
Yes, because Dreykov and Red Guardian were close to one another. That's what that scene in the beginning is, where they're patting each other's faces, very Russian-like. They were always very close to one another.
Right. So I think maybe I didn't because we didn't know his name was the Red Guardian yet. And that's why it didn't click with me. There was no reaction because I feel like it would have been really funny. I mean, or Marvel funny. It'd be like Yelena's like, I know someone who knows where it is, and Natasha's like, no, we're not. And then cut to David Harbour into jail. David
Harbour does say his name in that after they land the plane. He was like, can I go back to being Red Guardian again or something like that? He asked Dreykov when can I be Red Guardian again? And he's like, soon or something like that. It's in passing.
It's kind of on me that I missed that. But I also think that could have been a little bit stronger.
It could have been clearer
and funnier. But also it just didn't make sense. So when they get the helicopter to David Harbour and pull him out, he recognizes them. Yeah. And it was like, oh, so they've seen each other in the past 20 years or something. And then they land the helicopter, or quote unquote land it. And then it's like, I haven't seen you in 21 years. How do you? They don't look the same.
I mean,
how do you recognize?
I mean, who else? They act like
they've been talking to each other at least within the past 10 years. Yeah. Maybe 10 years ago, they stopped talking, but no, it's they just act like time has not passed at all in 21 years. I feel like we're missing something.
You're bringing up a lot of points that the Kind of Funny podcast brought while doing this review too, Kevin. They have the same exact points.
We're missing a lot of context.
I think it's just kind of assumed, who else would break out Red Guardian? I don't know. That's the only thing that really...
I don't know. We don't know what the Red Guardian's life is like.
Exactly. Well, he's been in jail. Well, his only thing is being Red Guardian put him in jail. That was his thing.
Uh-huh.
Tyler, you want to say something?
Yeah, and...
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring us on that long tangent.
I was gonna say that at least because it struck me odd too once they get Red Guardian up in the helicopter and he's like, you two grew up and I'm so proud of you. It makes sense for him to know who Natasha is because she's an Avenger, so she's very much she's been in publicized. The public eye. Yeah. So that one made sense. And Red Guardian has an obsession with Captain America, so. He seems like he follows along with the Avengers, and I think that's something that with the news, and that I think he's kind of jealous of Natasha in that because that's what he's wanting to do is just run around and be the Red Guardian, and he'd be able to do that with the Avengers, but so I can see how he'd make that connection with Natasha,
right?
But with Yelena, I'm not sure. Unless Dreykov was telling him like, hey, you're Yelena's doing this, this, and this, and
Dreykov puts Red Guardian in jail and then has lunch with them in the jail. Be like, hey, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I think there probably is
him.
something because at some point David, the Red Guardian says like, points at Yelena is like, you are the most efficient assassin ever. Like, how would you know that? It's supposed to be top secret unless someone told you.
Well, I think it's just, I mean, that's also offset during like the very most, like one of the most like chemistry like parts of the movie where like David Arbor's just like, you guys have so much red in your ledger and is so proud of them. And Natasha's like, oh, gross. And Elena's like, oh, gross. And then having that like really like obnoxious father-daughter moment with the three of them. I mean, it's funny. It's right after the helicopter falls out of the sky where he does the typical dad, like, oh, we have enough gas. And the just hard cut to the helicopter falling out of the sky.
But yeah, you had another point, Zach. For
so this kind of ties into what Tyler is going to say in the docket. So Tyler, go ahead. Like, I'll let you, and I'll build off you.
Sure. So I wanted more of a spy thriller than typical Marvel action, especially since we have Black Widow and, I mean, Yelena and Natasha are both top tier spies, and yet they ran around a lot more like Daniel Craig's James Bond. And we got more of a James Bond film than necessarily something that was spy. I will say that like if Marvel were to go this route, that would have been the film to do it. And, but the studio missed the mark on that.
The vibe that Winter Soldier had, it should have been more like this.
Right.
And honestly, in a perfect world where it would have been more okay to talk about the themes that like this movie came out in 2021 and talked about the themes of human trafficking and abuse of women and was able to do that because of the current times, like the Me Too movement. This movie coming out in 2014 probably wouldn't have happened. Like this, that would not have been the theme or plot involved in this film had it come out in 2014. So like I do wish we had gotten them before Civil War, 100%. But where it comes out like in our present right now, I think it does the most justice, quote unquote, for trying to get that theme across.
Yeah, it tries.
I'm saying it tries, but I think it would not have been like present at all in 2014, and it might have even been lackluster in
Marvel
2016.
and Disney had a very different mindset at the time.
Exactly.
It's wild to think about, but it's true. And then also, well, kind of building off you, Tyler, a little bit, what you said about wanting it to be more of a spy thriller. I felt like everything after the opening credits, it was either a spy movie trying to be a superhero movie or a superhero movie trying to be a spy movie. It was always flip-flopping back and forth on which was more dominating of the scene. But then it's like, but it never really meshed together. It was always like two different things trying to collide, but unable to fit.
The perfect example of that, Kevin, is when Yelena and Natasha meet for the first time again, where it's like Mission Impossible style, spy style, where they're like trading guns, fighting like the samesies kind of like same style of fighting. Right,
but then it's like the superhero MCU action
chase right after it. Yeah, it's like
choreography, and it's like it's hard to be invested in what's going on.
Oh no, sorry, I was thinking like hard cut after that is a car chase with Taskmaster.
True, yeah.
But the one thing. I would prefer it is Dreykov's master plan to be a little more personal to Natasha instead of like a world-ending web of widows. Like he had so many widows like on that map at the end. I wish it would have been kind of contained to just those like 30 women in the Red Room. I think it'd been a little more personal and could have been a little more like, okay, Natasha has to do this to save like women like her, not like stop a world-ending plan, you know?
Right. Yeah. And it just kind of goes with like just the writing in general, like how Black Widow's character has been treated throughout all the MCU before it. She has no foundation that we know of to really like ground into like, why is this important to this character? Like,
and they try to do
it's
that.
Like it's Black Widow. It's the same name as her.
Right, and they try to do that with the flashbacks to Budapest and the story or whatever. Right, but it just doesn't really hit, you know.
Right. It's not like, it'd be like, if we had, because we have, like, for example, Captain America, let's say we had a movie later down the line where he had to go back to World War II. So he's revisiting it after everything he's seen.
Right.
We feel that because his first movie that we saw him was entirely during World War II.
Right. Yeah.
So we have that foundation to build off of and then go back to. This is Black Widow. We don't know where she came from, and then she's going back to her origins, to her roots, and we're like, this is her roots. Like,
She came from
we
where
don't know what's
again?
going
Right.
on.
Yeah.
Right. So final thoughts, boys.
Oof.
Jesus. Jesus.
Bring on the next movie. I'll watch it anyway.
Tyler.
It's a good film to pick up with Marvel in theaters once again. I'm interested in watching this film in proper chronological order, sitting between Civil War and Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will strengthen not only the film but the viewing experience.
Yeah.
So the problem,
I agree.
the end credits scene, the post credits scene ruins that chronological order, though.
Yeah,
I mean, just don't watch the post credit scene.
Exactly. I feel like the post credit scene, it was like, at first I was like, oh, if I watch this with Civil War, like right after Civil War, the writing quality is gonna be more or less the same.
Right.
And then but then like that end credit, the post credit scene happens, like, God damn it, I got it. I can't.
Right.
Why? They
Yeah.
George Lucas it.
I mean, yeah, to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of like, it's like the argument for like Captain Marvel. If you want to watch Captain Marvel in chronological order, you can't watch that end credit scene.
But that works a bit better, I think.
What do you
because
mean?
it has the Infinity War has that cue, which is like, oh, you gotta watch Captain Marvel. You watch Captain Marvel.
Sorry,
it
I meant
doesn't-
like in chronological order. Like if you want to watch like in chronological order of like.
Right. No, you mean like, but you don't really have to, because I feel like when you because like Infinity War, like I said, the end of Infinity War has that cue, is like watch Captain Marvel.
Right. Yeah.
You
no,
watch
yeah, I
Captain
agree with
Marvel,
you,
and
yeah.
emotionally, like even because I feel like watching Captain Marvel chronologically wouldn't work, because
Okay.
you're not familiar with Nick Fury, you're not familiar with Steve, then you know you don't feel like the Clark Gregg the feeling of Clark Gregg coming
Right.
back to the MCU. Like it's Captain Marvel fits where it's at between Infinity War and Endgame really well, I believe.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah.
There's no reason to watch that chronologically. But yeah, Black Widow doesn't have that. It's like we watch Endgame, then Far From Home, and it's like Black Widow, we're going back to post Civil War, but it's like no, but there's no like
Mhm.
no connection. It wasn't like the end of Spider-Man Far From Home
Right.
cued us to watch Black Widow. It was just Black Widow suddenly here,
Mhm.
and we don't know where to actually watch it.
Do you guys think we'll have that with other future MCU films at all?
hopefully not.
Like hope. Yeah. No. Right.
I'm hoping.
Like
Yeah,
Eternals
I
that
hope
there's-
origin
we'll
story.
keep the. Yeah.
My hope is that it's more like the execution of Captain Marvel, where it is the movie cues up like you're gonna watch this movie next, like this is where it fits in your watch order. But it's not like how it is. I do like it is a sense of comic book storytelling where it's like, oh, like while this thing's going on, this character did this other thing, and
Right.
we backtrack through that. Like that's prevalent in comic books all the time. Like, but it's just, but like the way it's just, you can't read it, you can't watch this chronologically. It's the post credit scene that kind of ruins it, like takes it out of the time. Like do I
Right,
watch
yeah.
it
Mhm.
after Far From Home? Do I watch it after Endgame? Do I watch it after Civil War?
I think then
It's-
it just released for it at that point.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
one didn't queue up Shang-Chi at all.
Like, right.
And that's the next one coming out. So like, will
Right.
Shang-Chi queue up the next one, like Eternals after that? That's really the
Well,
question.
actually, wait, is Shang-Chi is coming before it.
Yeah, it comes
My
out
bad.
in September.
Why didn't Shang-Chi come out first? That should be the first MCU movies back in theaters.
I'm excited for that one.
The action looks
Yeah,
a lot
me
of
too.
fun. Anyways, Black Widow.
I guess I gotta say
It's
my
fine.
final thoughts. Yeah, no, I agree with Tyler. Solid entry to restart the MCU in the theaters. Sets the bar in the right place for other future MCU titles, which is rather like sad for this film to be that sacrificial lamb for so other MCUs could get a foot up in the theaters and audience reactions. But I mean, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, we're also the three guys reviewing Black Widow, so
Exactly. Well, why?
take our
why
brain
use
with
the only
2 cents and a grain
well,
of
not
salt.
the only, but one of the biggest women in the MCU as a sacrificial lamb. That's just sad.
I mean, literally in Endgame and in this movie.
But it's also
Yeah.
it's also Scarlett Johansson, so
That's also
whatever.
true. What was her like? So I feel like her attachment to this role or into this movie just seems weird, right?
she doesn't seem into it.
Right.
Like even though she has a great performance,
And
I
she
can tell it's
championed
like,
a lot for
I
like
feel like she's phoning it in a little bit.
right, and she like championed it like with Kate Shortland, executive produced on it.
Maybe she wasn't happy with the end result
Maybe, yeah.
because she wanted Kate Shortland for the movie really bad, kind of like Tom Cruise with John Woo for Mission Impossible 2.
Right.
But like
I just feel like for all the premieres and stuff, she seems like at arm's length from it. It just seems weird.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very considering other movies that she's been in, the quality of those movies.
Mm-hmm.
She probably saw this one and was like, maybe it wasn't as good as she was hoping for.
And this is no, this is no Jojo Rabbit.
It's not Jojo Rabbit. It's not her. It's not that one with Bill Murray. I forgot what it's called.
Tyler, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say she is pregnant. So I'm not sure if I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if maybe that's why she's stepped back from like the press on this. But it also I mean makes us wonder, if like does she step back for other reasons? This
I just want to know
that's all I needed.
The behind the scenes of this movie. Behind the scenes of the movie. How much did Feige mess it up?
That's all I needed, Tyler. Thank you for answering my question as a dumb male. I appreciate it.
Feige better watch his back.
Kevin, you got cool against Feige, all right? He got us the MCU, okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Anyway, Tyler, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and our YouTube channel at Why Is with Ty and Dan. We're also on Twitter at Why Is with Ty and 1. If you want to listen to more about the MCU, you can find me and my co-host Danny on Why Is with Ty and Dan. We cover MCU news and reviews every week.
I edit. It's great. Go listen to them, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And this is a Committed Critics show called Committed Critics. You can follow us on Twitter at Committed Crits. That's COMMITTED. We're also on YouTube. Committed Critics, spelled the same there. It is here everywhere else. You can support us on Patreon in the link below in the description. Just $1 or $2 a month really helps us out. Special thanks to our current patrons, Davey Peppers from Game Mechanics, Ryan Kowalkowski from Ryan Plays Drums, Andy Phillips from Andy Phillips, and Jody Wright. Special thanks to our sound engineer, Jordan Smearman, and we will see you next week when we talk about Loki. Bye-bye.